Deep within a mystical forest, where the air is thick with whispers of the unknown, young Lyra stirs from a restless sleep. The silver moon casts its gentle glow through the ancient trees, illuminating her face as she awakens to words that echo in her mind, words not her own. A spectral voice, distant yet clear, has planted an urgent message in her dreams. Find the lost artifact, or your world will succumb to eternal darkness. As Lyra rises, her heart racing with both fear and wonder, she notices something extraordinary. A narrow path, shimmering faintly with silver light, winding its way into the unknown. It's as if the forest itself is inviting her on a journey she never imagined possible. But why her, and what does this prophecy truly mean? You might think prophecies belong only in tales of old, but what if they hold secrets that can shape our reality today? Join me as we follow Lyra's footsteps down this glowing path, uncovering mysteries hidden deep within the heart of the silver moon's enchantment. Where are you joining us from, and what time is it there? No matter where you are, let's embark on this adventure together and discover what lies ahead. Lyra's boots crunched softly against the moss-covered stones as she ventured further along the Enchanted Path. The air shimmered with an otherworldly glow, and the trees seemed to lean closer, whispering secrets in voices only they could understand. Her heart raced not from fear, but from anticipation, knowing that this journey would test her resolve like nothing before. Just ahead, where the path narrowed into a twisting labyrinth of roots and brambles, a small figure flitted into view, a fairy no taller than her hand, its wings glittering like crushed diamonds. The fairy perched on a low-hanging branch, tilting its head with playful curiosity. Ah, it chimed in a voice like wind chimes, caught in a gentle breeze. A traveler dares to tread these sacred woods. But all who seek passage must first prove their wits. It held out a tiny hand, fingers adorned with delicate rings made of dewdrops, and posed a riddle. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, yet I come alive with the wind. What am I? For a moment, Lyra hesitated. She had heard tales of fairies, some benevolent guides, others tricksters bent on leading travelers astray. Trust or challenge, that was the question before her. If she answered correctly, the fairy might grant her safe passage. Fail, and who knew what mischief awaited? Yet something about the creature's mischievous grin told her this wasn't just a game. It was a trial meant to reveal her true nature. She closed her eyes, letting the silence settle around her as she pondered the riddle. Time slowed, each breath steady and deliberate. Then, with quiet confidence, she replied, an echo. The fairy clapped its hands together, delighted by her answer. Clever mortal, you've earned your way past me. But as it vanished in a burst of sparkling light, it left behind one final thought. Beware, for deeper in these woods, the trials grow darker, and so too will the choices you face. With renewed determination, Lyra pressed forward, the weight of the fairy's warning settling lightly upon her shoulders. Each step brought new challenges, each decision shaping the path ahead. And though uncertainty loomed, one thing remained clear. Her courage and wit would guide her through whatever lay beyond the shadows of the forest. As the trees began to part, revealing a clearing bathed in moonlight, Lyra couldn't help but wonder, What greater mysteries awaited her now? The path ahead grew darker as Lyra pressed onward, her lantern casting faint beams of light into the dense forest. The air was thick with the scent of moss and earth, and an eerie silence enveloped her surroundings. It wasn't long before she stumbled upon something unexpected, a clearing bathed in the glow of a crescent moon. At its center stood the remnants of an ancient civilization, weathered stone structures half buried in vines, their once grand forms now reduced to crumbling ruins. Among them loomed a towering temple, its entrance framed by two massive pillars carved with intricate designs. As Lyra approached, the carvings came into focus, images that told stories older than time itself. One panel depicted a silver moon rising over a world shrouded in shadow, while another showed a figure cloaked in light, standing against an army of darkness. Her breath caught as she realized these were no ordinary depictions. They mirrored the very prophecy whispered to her since childhood, the prophecy of the silver moon. It was here, etched into the walls of this forgotten place, waiting for someone like her to uncover its secrets. But as she traced her fingers along the grooves of the carvings, doubt crept in like the tendrils of ivy clinging to the stones. Was it possible? Could she truly be the one destined to fulfill such a monumental role? Lyra had always believed in her purpose, but the weight of it began to feel heavier with every step forward. What if she wasn't ready? What if she failed those who depended on her? The thought lingered, gnawing at her resolve. Yet amidst the uncertainty, there was a spark within her, a quiet voice reminding her why she started this journey in the first place. She thought about the people back home, their hopes pinned on her success, and then she looked again at the carvings, their details sharp despite centuries of decay. They spoke not just of fate, but also of choice, the courage to keep moving forward, even when the path seemed uncertain. Would she let fear dictate her next move, or would she embrace the challenge head-on? For the first time, Lyra understood that believing in her destiny wasn't about having all the answers. It was about trusting herself enough to find them. With renewed determination, she stepped inside the temple, ready to face whatever mysteries lay beyond. Little did she know, this decision would set her on a course far greater than anything she could have imagined. The path ahead grew steeper, the air thick with an eerie stillness that pressed against Lyra's senses. Shadows danced at the edges of her vision, twisting into forms that seemed almost sentient, creatures born from the encroaching darkness itself. Each step forward was a battle against doubt and fear, but Lyra pushed onward, her resolve sharpened by necessity. Yet, even the strongest traveler can falter when faced with such overwhelming odds. As she rounded a jagged outcrop, a figure emerged from the gloom, a man cloaked in tattered leather armor, his sword gleaming faintly in the dim light. His eyes burned with intensity, carrying both determination and sorrow within their depths. "You shouldn't be here alone," he said gruffly, his voice rough like stone, grinding against steel. This was Kale, a warrior whose name had once echoed through distant villages as a defender of hope. Now, however, he carried the weight of failure upon his shoulders, haunted by the memory of flames consuming his home and the cries of those he couldn't save. At first, Lyra hesitated. She had always prided herself on her independence, believing solitude to be her greatest strength. But as Kale spoke of his past, the losses he bore, and the lessons they taught him, she began to see the value in partnership. Together, they might stand a better chance against the forces arrayed against them. Over time, their shared experiences forged a bond stronger than mere circumstance. It became a connection rooted in understanding. Both carried scars visible and invisible, but together, they found solace in knowing they weren't alone. Kale's presence added a layer of security Lyra hadn't dared to imagine before. His tactical mind complemented her instincts, creating a synergy neither could achieve alone. Still, this alliance wasn't without its challenges. Trust doesn't bloom overnight, especially for two souls so deeply scarred by life's cruelties. There were moments of tension where old wounds flared anew, testing their resolve. Yet amidst these trials, they discovered something profound. Hope isn't diminished by fear, it's amplified by it. Their journey now intertwined, Lyra and Kale moved forward with renewed purpose. They spoke openly about their fears, their dreams, and the flickering light they believed still existed beyond the oppressive shroud of darkness. Through their conversations, they reminded each other that even the smallest spark has the power to ignite change, and perhaps, just perhaps, that spark would be enough to guide them toward salvation. With every step, the world around them shifted subtly, as if responding to the quiet strength growing between them. For in unity, there lies not only survival, but also transformation, a truth they'd carry with them as they ventured deeper into the unknown. The air in the market town buzzes with energy, a vibrant tapestry of colors, scents, and sounds. Stalls overflow with goods, spices that carry the promise of distant lands, fabrics shimmering like moonlight on water, and vendors shouting their wares with an infectious enthusiasm. But beneath this lively facade lies a current of unease. Whispers ripple through the crowds, quiet murmurs about the growing shadow spreading across the land. People glance over their shoulders before speaking, wary of prying ears. Lyra and her companion navigate the throng, their senses alive to every detail. Yet it isn't long before Lyra's presence begins to draw notice, not the kind she hoped for. A pair of hooded figures lingers too long near them, their eyes sharp and calculating. They are not ordinary townsfolk. They move with purpose, like predators circling prey. It doesn't take long for Lyra to realize who they are. Spies loyal to the Shadow King, tasked with rooting out anyone daring enough to oppose his dark reign. Her heart quickens as she weighs her options. Should she turn back now, slipping away into the anonymity of the crowd, or should she stay, risking exposure to seek out those fighting against the encroaching darkness? The choice is fraught with danger, but within it lies opportunity. Somewhere among these bustling streets, hidden behind closed doors or veiled faces, are members of the resistance, those brave souls willing to stand against the tide of despair. But how can she find them without being found herself? Trust becomes a fragile commodity here, where betrayal often wears a friendly smile. Still, Lyra knows that allies could mean the difference between failure and hope. Perhaps someone in this town holds the key to unlocking the secrets of the rebellion, or maybe even answers about the mysterious prophecy tied to the silver moon. As dusk settles over the marketplace, painting the scene in hues of gold and crimson, Lyra makes her decision. With each step forward, she embraces the uncertainty ahead, knowing that courage sometimes means walking straight into the storm. And so, Under the watchful gaze of both friend and foe, she prepares to face whatever challenges await, driven by a resolve as unwavering as the stars above. Deep within the crystal cave, where light danced upon walls of shimmering quartz, Lyra found herself standing before the enigmatic oracle. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, and the faint hum of ancient magic seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. As she approached the figure shrouded in mist, a sense of both awe and trepidation washed over her. What secrets did this oracle hold? And more importantly, what answers could it provide about the relic she sought? The oracle's voice resonated like distant thunder, its words weaving together riddles wrapped in truths. To claim the power you seek, it intoned, you must descend into the depths of the sea of echoes. There lies the heart of the tides, a relic capable of bending time itself to your will. But the oracle hesitated, its form flickering as if burdened by unspoken weight. Yet beware, for retrieving it demands a toll no soul can fully prepare for. Lyra listened intently, her mind racing with possibilities. The promise of such immense power stirred something deep within her, a spark of hope that had long been buried beneath layers of doubt and sorrow. Yet the mention of a cost unsettled her. What price would the ocean demand? And why did the oracle's warning carry such a heavy undertone? As the oracle continued, its cryptic words painted a vivid picture of the challenges ahead. To reach the heart of the tides, Lyra would have to navigate treacherous waters, teeming with shadowy creatures born from forgotten nightmares. But even more daunting was the revelation that these dangers paled in comparison to the true obstacle, confronting memories she had spent years trying to forget. Memories tied to a past she thought she'd left behind forever. When the oracle finally fell silent, Lyra stood there, frozen, grappling with the implications of what she'd learned. Her hands trembled slightly, not out of fear but resolve. She knew now that the journey ahead wouldn't just test her strength or courage. It would force her to face parts of herself she had locked away, hoping they'd remain undisturbed. But instead of backing down, something shifted inside her. A quiet determination took root, fueling her every breath. If reclaiming her destiny required delving into the shadows of her own heart, then so be it. And yet, as she stepped back into the world beyond the crystal cave, the stakes felt heavier than ever before. The path forward was uncertain, fraught with peril and personal reckoning. But Lyra embraced it all, knowing that only through embracing her pain could she unlock the strength needed to fulfill the prophecy of the silver moon. The winds howled like a chorus of lost souls as Lyra and Kale sailed closer to the coast, their vessel rocking violently against waves that seemed determined to swallow them whole. It was no ordinary storm, they both knew it. The dark clouds above twisted into eerie shapes, resembling figures from ancient tales of malevolent sea spirits who guarded the waters with unyielding fury. These were not just storms of nature, but manifestations of something far more sinister, testing the resolve of anyone foolish enough to trespass upon their domain. Kale gripped the ship's wheel tightly, his knuckles pale as he fought to keep their course steady, while Lyra worked tirelessly at the sails, adjusting them to every unpredictable shift in the wind. Her mind raced not just with thoughts of survival, but also with questions about what lay ahead. If these storms were meant to deter them, then whatever waited beneath the waves would surely be even more formidable. Yet, Despite the fear gnawing at her heart, she found strength in their partnership. Together, they overcame each challenge the Tempest threw their way, proving time and again that their combined ingenuity could conquer even the most daunting obstacles. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the skies began to clear, revealing a jagged coastline cloaked in mist. But there was no time for relief. Their destination loomed before them, the sunken city, its ruins rising like ghostly fingers from the depths below. As they descended into the murky waters, weighted down by gear and determination, the air grew thick with an unsettling stillness. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound amplified tenfold. Danger lurked around every corner, waiting patiently for its moment to strike. And yet, through this perilous descent, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The trials they faced here, though harrowing, were merely a prelude to something greater, something that would test not just their skills or courage, but the very essence of who they were. With each step forward, the stakes grew higher, the risks more profound. But one thing remained certain. Together, they would face whatever came next, ready to uncover the secrets hidden within the Silver Moon's prophecy, and perhaps rewrite their own destinies along the way. In the dim light filtering through the water, the first remnants of the ancient city came into view, shrouded in mystery and brimming with untold dangers. What secrets did it hold, and what new challenges awaited our heroes in this submerged world? The cool, briny water swirled around Lyra's ankles as she ventured deeper into the submerged ruins. Her lantern cast an uneven glow across the moss-covered stones, revealing intricate carvings that hinted at the civilization's grandeur before it was claimed by the sea. As she moved cautiously through the labyrinthine corridors, her fingers brushed against cold walls, etched with symbols she had only ever seen in ancient texts, symbols tied to the legend of the Silver Moon. But what she uncovered next sent a shiver down her spine. Hidden beneath layers of coral and silt was evidence suggesting something darker, records indicating the Silver Moon's power wasn't always used for good. Whispers of corruption echoed through the ages, buried alongside this lost city. It seemed the ancients had harnessed its light, not just to heal or protect, but also to dominate and control. Could reviving such a force now truly be safe, or might their efforts inadvertently unleash harm instead? Her thoughts were interrupted by the faint sound of grinding stone. Before she could react, spikes shot out from the ceiling, narrowly missing her head. Ancient guardians still lingered here, mechanisms designed to deter intruders long after their creators faded into history. With quick reflexes, Lyra darted through collapsing passageways, dodging traps meant to snare those who dared disturb the sacred relics. Each step felt heavier than the last, weighed down by both physical danger and moral uncertainty. As she finally emerged into a vast chamber filled with shimmering artifacts, one question burned brighter than all the others. Was the risk worth taking? If the Silver Moon's revival came at too great a cost, would humanity learn from the mistakes of the past, or repeat them? And more urgently, how much longer could she evade the relentless traps closing in on her position? The air grew colder, heavier, as if the very ruins themselves were holding their breath, waiting for her decision. The relic pulsed faintly in Lyra's hands as she and Kale stepped onto the rocky shore, their breaths mingling with the salty breeze. They had succeeded barely in retrieving the ancient artifact from the depths of the Silver Moon caverns, but success came at a cost. The air was thick with unease, and neither spoke as they scanned the horizon for any sign of pursuit. It wasn't long before shadows materialized on the distant cliffs, dark figures moving with calculated precision. Assassins, Kale muttered under his breath, gripping the hilt of his sword tightly. His voice carried an edge of tension that sent a shiver down Lyra's spine. The Shadow King didn't waste any time. As the assassins closed in, it became clear this wouldn't be just another skirmish. These weren't ordinary mercenaries. They moved like a well-oiled machine, each step deliberate and lethal. Every instinct screamed at Lyra to fight back, but there were too many. Outnumbered and exhausted from their underwater ordeal, survival would require more than brute force. It demanded strategy. Kale's mind raced as he assessed their options. "We can't take them all," he said, his tone grim yet resolute. "But maybe we don't have to." He glanced around, taking note of the jagged rocks lining the shoreline and the narrow path leading inland. A plan began to form, though it carried risks neither could ignore. Lyra nodded, her grip tightening on the relic. "Then let's make every move count." Her words echoed with determination, masking the flicker of doubt within her. If anything happened to the relic now, after everything they'd endured, the consequences would be catastrophic. Not just for them, but for everyone who depended on its power. Their makeshift plan unfolded quickly, turning the rugged terrain into both ally and obstacle. Rocks tumbled downhill, forcing the assassins to scatter. Arrows whizzed through the air, striking targets with unerring accuracy. But even as they gained ground, cracks began to appear in their alliance. Trust, once unwavering, started to waver under the weight of mounting pressure. One moment stood out, a split-second decision that altered everything. When faced with certain death, one of the assassins revealed information about the Shadow King's true intentions, betraying his comrades in exchange for mercy. This revelation forced Lyra and Kale to reconsider not only their enemies, but also those they thought they knew. Alliances shifted like quicks, and beneath their feet. Who could they trust, and how far were they willing to go to protect the relic and each other? Sacrifices loomed large, testing their resolve and challenging everything they believed in. Yet amidst the chaos, one truth remained steadfast. The journey ahead would demand courage, cunning, and perhaps most importantly, faith in themselves and each other. And so, with the assassins temporarily thwarted but still lurking nearby, Lyra and Kale pressed onward, carrying with them not only the relic, but also the seeds of uncertainty that threatened to grow with each passing mile. What lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. They were no longer simply running from danger. They were stepping boldly into it. The journey had taken its toll on Lyra and her companions, but the relentless pursuit left them no choice but to press onward. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the kingdom, whispers of an ancient monastery reached their ears, a sanctuary hidden in the mountains, far from prying eyes. It was said that the monks who dwelled there guarded secrets older than time itself, knowledge so powerful it could alter destinies. Driven by desperation and hope, they sought refuge within those sacred walls. The air grew cooler as they ascended the treacherous mountain path, each step echoing against jagged cliffs, cloaked in mist. When at last they arrived, the sight before them took their breath away. A sprawling complex carved into the rock itself, its stone arches adorned with intricate carvings depicting celestial beings and forgotten gods. The gates creaked open slowly, revealing a courtyard bathed in moonlight, where robed figures emerged silently to greet them. These were the guardians of eternity, monks bound by vows of silence and solitude, yet their eyes spoke volumes of wisdom and caution. Lyra's curiosity quickly turned to obsession as she delved into the monastery's forbidden archives. Shelves upon shelves lined the dimly lit halls, filled with scrolls, manuscripts, and artifacts untouched for centuries. Among these relics, she uncovered texts that defied all understanding, writings that painted the prophecy not as a tale of light triumphing over darkness, but rather as a delicate balance between opposing forces. What if the silver moon wasn't a symbol of salvation? What if it represented something far more complex, a convergence of energies neither wholly good nor evil? As Lyra pieced together fragments of this new truth, doubt began to gnaw at her resolve. Had she misinterpreted her role in this cosmic struggle? Was she truly destined to wield the power of the silver moon, or had fate set her on a path fraught with deception and manipulation? Each revelation brought fresh questions, unraveling the foundation of everything she believed. Yet amidst the turmoil, one thing became clear. The answers she sought would require sacrifices greater than she ever imagined. In the quiet hours of the night, surrounded by flickering candlelight and the distant murmur of prayers, Lyra realized that the prophecy held no easy answers. Its origins lay buried deep within the labyrinth of history, woven through countless generations of those who dared to challenge the unknown. And now, armed with newfound knowledge, she faced a daunting decision: embrace the burden of her discoveries or reject the path laid out before her. But one thing remained certain: the choices made here would ripple across worlds, shaping the destiny of many. With every page turned and every secret unveiled, the stakes grew higher. For beyond the monastery's protective walls, shadows stirred, drawn inexorably toward the truths hidden within. Lyra knew she couldn't remain hidden forever. The clock was ticking, and soon, the final chapter of this ancient tale would begin. The revelation came like a storm on an otherwise calm sea. Among the companions who had shared laughter and hardship, one stood revealed, a traitor in their midst, secretly serving the Shadow King. The air grew heavy with betrayal, trust unraveling like threads pulled from a tapestry. Lyra stared at her friend, once so close, now a stranger cloaked in shadows. How could someone they trusted for so long betray them all? As whispers of doubt spread through the group, tensions flared brighter than any campfire. Each word exchanged carried weight, every glance tinged with suspicion. Resources dwindled faster under this newfound strain, forcing hard decisions upon those who had once fought as one. Loyalty seemed fragile, yet necessity loomed larger still. How far would they go to survive? Could forgiveness find its place amidst such treachery? Lyra wrestled within herself, torn between holding fast to old bonds or embracing what was needed to endure. Was it possible to salvage unity when trust itself felt shattered beyond repair? She knew that each choice she made would ripple outward, shaping not just their survival, but also the very soul of their fellowship. And so, under the watchful gaze of the silver moon, she pondered, Is loyalty defined by unwavering devotion, or by adapting to meet the demands of an unforgiving world? With time slipping away and answers elusive, the path ahead grew murkier. Yet even in uncertainty, hope stirred faintly, a reminder that perhaps redemption could yet bloom where despair sought to take root. Lyra stood at the edge of the council chamber, her voice steady despite the weight of what she was about to propose. "We must meet fire with strategy," she began, her eyes meeting each member of the group in turn. Drawing upon ancient texts and whispered legends, she unveiled a daring plan to infiltrate the Shadow King's stronghold under the cover of deception. It wasn't just courage they needed, it was cunning, wit, and an unshakable belief that unity could triumph over tyranny. The idea itself was bold. By studying historical accounts of battles fought and won through guile rather than brute force, Lyra believed they could outsmart their enemy. She recounted tales of warriors who disguised themselves as allies, of spies who turned the tables on those who sought to oppress them. Each story fueled her conviction that this path, not direct confrontation, was their best chance for success. But as inspiring as her words were, putting such a plan into action would prove far more challenging than anyone anticipated. Preparations began almost immediately, yet complications arose faster than solutions could be found. The first test came when crafting disguises intricate enough to fool even the most vigilant guards. Fabric had to mimic the shadows themselves, shifting colors like moonlight dancing across water. Hours turned into days as every stitch was scrutinized, every detail debated. Patience frayed, tempers flared, but no one dared abandon the effort, not when so much hung in the balance. Then came the training exercises, where trust became as crucial as skill. Could teammates rely on one another without hesitation? Would instincts hold firm under pressure? A single misstep during a simulated ambush left scars, not only on pride, but also on confidence. Doubts crept in like tendrils of mist, threatening to unravel the fragile bonds holding the group together. Yet through it all, Lyra remained steadfast, reminding them that failure here meant learning, not defeat. As tensions mounted, unexpected challenges tested not only their resolve, but also their willingness to adapt. Supplies ran low, forcing difficult choices about rationing resources. Disagreements erupted over strategies, revealing cracks in alliances once thought unbreakable. And through it all, the looming threat of the Shadow King pressed down upon them, a constant reminder of the stakes involved. But within these trials lay opportunities for growth. Bonds deepened between unlikely companions, forged in shared struggles and small victories. Lessons learned from setbacks became stepping stones toward improvement. Courage grew not from the absence of fear, but from the decision to face it head-on, together. And so, as the final preparations neared completion, the group stood united, not because they were free of doubt or conflict, but because they chose to move forward despite them. Their journey ahead promised danger and uncertainty, but armed with determination, deception, and the wisdom of history, they prepared to confront the darkness head-on. For now, though, there was still work to do, and questions yet unanswered. What awaited them beyond the stronghold's walls, only time would tell. The fortress loomed before her, its jagged spires piercing the heavy clouds above. As Lyra stepped inside, an unsettling chill ran through her, a sensation that wasn't merely physical, but seemed to seep into her very soul. Shadows danced along the stone walls, writhing like living creatures, and whispers echoed in her ears, faint yet insistent. It was here, amidst this labyrinth of darkness, that reality began to unravel. At first, it was subtle, just a flicker of doubt, when she thought she saw an ally where none should be. But soon, the lines between friend and foe blurred entirely. Every face became a mask, every word laced with hidden meanings. Even those who had stood by her side since the beginning now cast furtive glances, their loyalty suddenly uncertain. In these shadowed halls, trust was as fragile as glass. Yet, even as uncertainty clouded her mind, Lyra found herself leaning on something deeper, an inner compass forged over countless trials. Her instincts, sharp and unyielding, guided her steps when reason faltered. She learned to listen closely, not just to what others said, but to the silence between their words. And in doing so, she uncovered fragments of truth buried deep within the fortress's heart. What she discovered shook her to her core. Secrets long kept from the outside world revealed themselves piece by piece. Ancient treaties broken, forgotten promises betrayed, and alliances built on lies. With each revelation, the prophecy she had clung to felt less like a beacon of hope and more like a fragile dream teetering on the edge of collapse. Could the silver moon truly rise against such overwhelming deceit? But amidst the chaos, there was one constant, the fire within her chest. For all the doubts sown by the shadows, they could never extinguish the determination that had carried her this far. Lyra knew that the answers she sought would not come easily. They would demand sacrifice, courage, and perhaps most of all, faith, not blind faith, but the kind born of resilience and tested by adversity. As she ventured deeper into the fortress, the air grew heavier, charged with tension. The next challenge awaited her, lurking just beyond the veil of shadow. What lay ahead, she couldn't know for certain, but one thing was clear. If she hoped to survive, she'd need to confront not only the enemies around her, but also the fears within. And so, with steady resolve, Lyra pressed forward, ready to face whatever truth or betrayals the fortress held in store. The air crackled with an otherworldly energy as Lyra and the Shadow King stood face to face, their figures silhouetted against the faint glow of the fractured silver moon hanging heavy in the sky. Each held a fragment of its ancient power, a shard that pulsed in harmony with their deepest desires and fears. Yet, for all their might, neither could deny the toll this confrontation was taking on them. Lyra's breath came in ragged gasps, her hands trembling from the strain of channeling such raw magic. The silver light emanating from her fragment seemed almost alive, swirling around her like a protective aura. But even as it strengthened her resolve, she felt the weight of doubt creeping in. Could she truly defeat someone who had spent centuries mastering darkness? Or would his shadowy influence consume her entirely? Across from her, the Shadow King loomed, his form wreathed in tendrils of obsidian mist. His laughter echoed through the desolate battlefield, each note carrying a chilling reminder of his confidence. Or was it arrogance? He too bore a piece of the silver moon's essence, but his connection to its power was corrupted, twisted by greed and malice into something unrecognizable. Still, he wielded it with terrifying precision, each attack threatening to overwhelm Lyra completely. As they clashed again, their weapons sparking with celestial energy. The world seemed to hold its breath. Every strike resonated with the force of destiny itself, shaking the very ground beneath them. They fought not just for survival, but for the fate of the realm, and perhaps beyond. For if either side triumphed, the balance of existence would tip irrevocably toward light or shadow. Yet, amidst the chaos, there were moments of clarity. In those fleeting seconds between strikes, Lyra glimpsed the man the Shadow King once was, not the monstrous figure before her now, but a soul consumed by despair and betrayal. It wasn't pity she felt, but understanding. Both had been shaped by loss, driven to extremes by forces beyond their control. Was victory truly worth the cost? But there was no time for reflection. The Shadow King lunged forward, his blade slicing through the air with unnatural speed. Lyra barely managed to parry, the impact sending shockwaves rippling outward. Her arms burned with exhaustion, yet somehow she found the strength to press onward. She called upon every ounce of willpower, letting the silver light surge within her like a tidal wave. And when she unleashed it, the sheer brilliance illuminated everything, revealing truths hidden in the shadows. Would this final exchange determine the course of eternity? Only one thing was certain. Both combatants would leave this battle forever changed, whether victorious or vanquished. Lyra stood amidst the aftermath, her heart heavy with both sorrow and triumph. The battle had been fierce, testing every ounce of her strength and resolve. Yet she emerged not as a conqueror seeking domination, but as a guardian of balance. In that moment, she understood something profound. The prophecy was never about destruction or control. It spoke of harmony, of weaving together opposing forces to create unity where there once was chaos. As she raised her hands to the sky, invoking the ancient powers tied to the silver moon, Lyra channeled her energy into healing rather than harm. She saw the land around her respond, cracks mending, life returning to what had been scorched by conflict. Her actions were met with stunned silence from those who watched, former adversaries now witnessing a transformation they hadn't anticipated. Even those who had fought against her began to lower their weapons, their hostility melting away in the face of her selfless act. The respect that grew for Lyra wasn't born out of fear or submission, but out of admiration for her wisdom and courage. By choosing restoration over obliteration, she demonstrated an understanding deeper than any weapon could convey. This choice reshaped not only the world around her, but also the hearts of those who had opposed her. They came to realize that true power doesn't lie in overwhelming force, but in fostering connections, building bridges where walls once stood. But this revelation didn't come easily. There were moments when doubt clouded Lyra's mind, whispering doubts about whether she could succeed where others had failed. Yet, it was her unwavering belief in the possibility of coexistence that guided her through. Each step forward reinforced her conviction that even the most fractured relationships can be repaired if approached with empathy and perseverance. And so, under the light of the silver moon, a new chapter unfolded, one where balance reigned supreme, where enemies became allies, and where hope blossomed anew. As the night deepened, the air carried a sense of peace, a promise that the future would hold more than just echoes of past struggles. For Lyra, this was merely the beginning of a journey toward lasting harmony, one that would inspire generations to come. The first rays of dawn painted the horizon in hues of gold and silver, signaling a new beginning for those who had endured unimaginable trials. Under Lyra's steady guidance, the survivors began the arduous task of rebuilding their shattered world. Her voice, calm yet resolute, inspired hope in even the most weary hearts, as she reminded everyone that unity was their greatest strength. Yet, beneath the surface of this newfound resolve, tension simmered. Trust, once freely given, now felt fragile, like glass on the verge of shattering again. Some still harbored doubts, memories of betrayal, casting long shadows over their efforts to move forward. Lyra understood the complexities of healing not just homes, but also hearts. She knew that reconciliation would not come easily or quickly. It required patience, open communication, and perhaps most importantly, forgiveness, a concept easier spoken than lived. As alliances reformed and old wounds were revisited, she encouraged her people to face their fears head-on. "We cannot undo what has happened," she often said, "but we can choose how we let it shape us." Her words carried weight, though they did not erase the pain entirely. In small gatherings around flickering campfires, survivors shared stories not only of loss, but also of resilience. Each tale became a thread weaving them closer together, binding them with an unspoken promise to rebuild not just walls and roads, but relationships too. However, not everyone was ready to listen. A few remained distant, their mistrust acting as barriers that no amount of well-meaning speeches could dismantle overnight. These fractures served as reminders that while progress was underway, the path ahead was fraught with challenges. Still, there were moments of light amidst the darkness, laughter echoing through makeshift camps, children playing despite the uncertainty around them, and hands reaching out across divides. These acts of kindness, though seemingly small, held immense power. They symbolized the possibility of moving beyond hurt and toward healing. And so, under Lyra's watchful eye, the community continued its journey, step by painful step, knowing full well that true recovery would take time, effort, and courage. As the days turned into weeks, one thing became increasingly clear. The road to restoration was neither straight nor smooth, but every stone along the way offered opportunities for growth, teaching lessons about trust, forgiveness, and the enduring strength found in unity. Though cracks lingered in some bonds, the foundation they built together promised something greater, a future where scars might fade, leaving behind stories of triumph instead of tragedy. The cool evening breeze swept through the tall grass as Lyra stood atop the hill, her gaze fixed on the tranquil kingdom below. The once tumultuous lands now rested in harmony, their scars slowly fading under the gentle touch of renewal. She felt a profound sense of accomplishment, yet it was tempered by the weight of what lay ahead. This journey had begun with a whisper carried on the wind, the prophecy of the silver moon, and now here she was, standing at its crossroads. As she reflected on the trials that brought her to this moment, Lyra realized how much she had grown. Once hesitant and uncertain, she had faced fears both within herself and beyond her control. Each challenge had chipped away at her doubts, revealing a strength she never knew she possessed. Yet, despite the victories won and battles fought, there remained an unspoken truth. The prophecy was far from over. Its echoes still lingered, calling her toward horizons unknown. What did those distant skies hold? Would they bring allies or adversaries, peace or peril? Lyra couldn't say for certain, but one thing was clear. She was no longer the same person who first heard the prophecy's call. That realization filled her with quiet resolve. Life had taught her that every ending is merely the beginning of something new, and though uncertainty loomed large, so too did opportunity. With a deep breath, Lyra turned her eyes back to the horizon, letting the setting sun bathe her face in golden light. There was beauty in the unknown, after all, if only one dared to embrace it, and dare she would. For whatever challenges awaited her beyond the hills and valleys, she was ready, not because she was invincible, but because she understood the power of resilience and hope. And so, beneath the vast expanse of the silver moon's glow, Lyra steeled herself, knowing full well that the true test of courage wasn't found in avoiding fear, but in facing it head-on. Her heart raced not with dread, but with anticipation, for the next chapter of her destiny was waiting just beyond the curve of the world. Though the silver moon now shines brightly in the night sky, casting its soothing glow over a world at peace, the quiet whispers of ancient lore refuse to fade entirely. Lyra's journey has reached a momentary conclusion, her courage and determination weaving a new chapter into the tapestry of legend. Yet, as she stands beneath the stars, gazing toward horizons unknown, the sense lingers that this is not the end, but perhaps the beginning of something far greater. In distant lands, tales speak of other prophecies waiting to unfold, their secrets guarded by time itself. These stories beckon with promises of untold wonders and trials yet unseen. Perhaps they will call upon Lyra once more, or maybe new heroes will rise from the shadows to carry the torch. What we do know is that the threads of destiny are never truly severed. Instead, they twist and turn, forming intricate patterns that span generations. As you drift into slumber, let these mysteries linger gently in your mind. Imagine the vastness of the world beyond the silver moon, where countless adventures lie hidden just out of reach. And remember, dear listener, that every ending carries within it the seed of a new beginning, a chance for growth, discovery, and renewal. With each breath you take, allow yourself to feel the calm assurance that even when one story closes, others stand ready to unfold. For now, rest easy knowing that peace reigns under the watchful gaze of the silver moon, and who knows, tomorrow may bring whispers of a prophecy all its own.